SWAC Media Day. Let's bring in the commissioner of the SWAC. We're here in Birmingham, Dr. Charles McClelland. We've got a lot to talk about. We'll try to do it quickly. These days, towards the end of the day, man, it gets to be a lot in a great way.
Right.
First of all, congratulations, Division I Basketball Committee Chair. That's huge, man. Congratulations.
Yeah, appreciate it. Kind of overwhelming. Still hasn't set in yet. You know, in my opinion, the NCAA tournament is the greatest sporting event of all. I've been to a Super Bowl. I've been to an NBA final. Have not been to a Major League Baseball game 1 through 7, but the NCAA tournament is just overwhelming. And to be selected by my peers to be vice chair under Chris Reynolds this year and to be chair in 23-24, speechless, still hasn't set in yet.
A lot of people might be thinking, what type of impact, residual or however, can this really benefit SWAC, BIAC, other HBCUs?
Well, everywhere I go, SWAC goes with me. So I think there will be some residual. The world will look at SWAC through the eyes of the basketball committee, and I think that's significant. I think it breaks down barriers. I was telling my wife, you just doesn't haphazardly become chair of the men's basketball committee, which means that there's credibility there. That means that there's honesty and integrity there. So I think we can overcome some hurdles to say, look at the SWAC now when it comes to some of these Power 5 ADs. They have great institutions, they have great people. Look at the SWAC when it comes to some of these other things that are out there within the membership. And I just think it does break down some barriers.
We talked about this a couple of years ago. How rewarding is it for you? Because you talked about consciously making the decision to stay with the SWAC. You have the talent, the charisma. You could have gone anywhere, and anybody would have had you if it was a job that you wanted. But to stay here, to excel, and now to gain new opportunities like this, how rewarding is that for you to do it from the position of still being involved in the SWAC?
It's very rewarding. From Jackson, Mississippi, Powell High School, kind of in the middle of the hood a little bit, Callaway High School, sitting in those classrooms, being where I was, never really thought this far. I dream of going to college and getting a job. And to be commissioner of the Southwestern Athletic Conference wasn't a dream that I had. To be chair of the Division I Men's Basketball Committee wasn't a dream that I had. But I'm hoping that people that see this can dream bigger than what I dream. And I heard this all the time for people I saw on TV, but that was literally me. And I'm telling individuals that are at the Powells and the Chastains in Jackson, Mississippi, that you too can elevate. So it is extremely rewarding, and it was a conscious decision. I am gonna stay within the entities that poured their resources to get me to this point. To leave at a certain point in my mind would have turned my back on all of those people that believed in me. The Dr. Charles Hines that hired me when I wasn't qualified to be the athletic director at Prairie View A&M University. Dr. John Rutley that lured me away from Texas Southern, that handed the keys over to say, Charles, we're gonna mold you, we're gonna polish. Those two gentlemen, they could have gone other directions. They saw something in me and all of the people that surrounded that. I have an obligation to stay and to do some of these things. And again, I'm not perfect, but I'm gonna work hard at it, and hopefully I can do some good things for the SWAC.
People can't see it on this side of the camera, but just over on the other side of our cameras, you got Roland Martin live. You got media members from everywhere. We got multi-camera setups. See Byron Allen's outfit over there. We didn't have a lot of this last year.
Right.
This is a little further than incremental growth.
Well, SWAC is a premier league. I think we've always said that. Everybody has asked me today about this super conference. And I've said there's already a super HBCU conference. It's called the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And I think this is just a testament. Over 250 total media outlets are covering this event. Those are unprecedented numbers. And it really goes to the growth of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Let's just talk about football. Everybody knows and talks about Coach Prime. And he's done an outstanding job of elevating the profile. But let's talk about Hugh Jackson coming in from, Cleveland Browns via Tennessee State. Let's talk about Bubba McDowell, one of the greatest defensive backs that ever played with the Houston Oilers, played with Warren Moon. Heart still broken about that Buffalo game back. I think that was 91, 92.
The fall game?
Yeah, the fall game.
I remember sitting at home watching that, like, what is happening here?
Feeling still hurt. Eddie Robinson, Alabama State, with Steve McNair, again, heartbroken in the Super Bowl when Isaac Hope, scored that touchdown to get the Rams over. And then you're talking about Coach Dooley leaving Prairie View going. You talk about Coach Danzy at Mississippi, Valley State. Who could forget Willie Simmons at FAMU and what he was able to achieve with an at-large bid. I mean, all of these things go to how strong we are, how competitive we are. 3 teams at one point ranked in the top 25. This is the conference from an FCS standpoint. We're not just a black college conference. We are an FCS conference that's blazing trails in attendance, that's blazing trails with corporate partners, that's blazing trails with our media partners. And we've seen an exponential growth in people wanting to cover the SWAC. We've seen exponential growth in people watching the SWAC. So it still is somewhat surprising to see all of these media here, though, Tali.
Well, I tell you, here were my thoughts, Doc. I was like, I'm going to go to Media Day. The number 1 high school player in the country last year is going to be there because he chose an HBCU. I said, I need to bring every camera I have. I need to bring every light. And I did. Like 1, 2, 3, 4. Got one upstairs.
Right.
5. Because I think it's important that if we want these kids to come to our schools, then every person who has an opportunity to touch them, whether you're a booster, media, you cover, whatever, you need to put your best forward because they need to see this was the right choice.
Well, but again, you start talking about our graduation rates, right? And you start talking about the mission of our schools. We take a lot of students that are not historically prepared for higher education, prepare them, and then graduate them. And we're doing the same with these student athletes. Some of the jobs that are being done is just truly remarkable. But now we're entering into this phase where we are the first choice. And we are the first choice because you can come to the SWAC and get a name, image, and likeness deal as good or as big as you can get at a Power 5 institution. They're coming now because they can be seen on major networks. They're coming because they can compete for a national championship on ABC and go to a bowl game. They are coming here because they can get at-large bids to the FCS playoffs. And oh, by the way, with Winston Hill and Harold Carmichael being inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame, which pushed us 6th on the list of all conferences, you can be drafted and get inducted into the Hall of Fame, where we had 2 draftees and 23 undrafted free agents. And same thing with baseball, same thing with basketball. So it's important, but we're also checking off those boxes. You can come here and be a really big fish in our pond, in our lake, and get some benefits, quite frankly, that you can't get at a Power 5 school. And oh, by the way, you can come and start right now, where if you went to the University of X, might be a junior or senior before you even get on the field.
Absolutely, absolutely. When you look around, see all the people, all this buzz, were there parts of your plan or something you might have doodled on a piece of paper or kept in front of you as a constant vision? Are you seeing execution of a plan here?
Absolutely. Not only the execution of people being here, but the execution of our staff and the staffs of other entities that we incorporate to pull something like this off. I've always said we want to be first class. This is first class. When you come into the Sheraton downtown Birmingham and you see SWAC draped all over the columns and the poles, when you see the student athletes get an opportunity to go to Topgolf and do those type things, when you see the increasing in gifts, when you see the increasing of the revenue that we're putting into the schools and the championships, that was the vision. And it takes a lot of people to pull that off. It is humbling and it does make me smile. I was a little nervous today. You always get nervous. I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna sleep very, very well tonight. Today is a good day for the Southwestern Athletic Conference.
I'm gonna sleep well too, because this setting all this up, man, it burns a lot of calories. I'm not asking you to single out any particular sponsor because I know you value them, but just from an overview, the fact that, a high-ranking Pepsi official comes and talks to members of the media, and we've seen them be very visible, visiting campuses, talking to student athletes, not only in the SWAC, but other HBCU conferences. How important is it to have an authentic relationship like that from a partner and sponsor level?
It's extremely important, and President Lewis has elevated himself even greater. He's overall diversity for PepsiCo, moving up from president of South Division. And when he speaks, everybody listens, right? For him to lend his credibility to the Southwestern Athletic Conference gave us credibility with our other partners. And we've added General Motors. Cricket was there even before Pepsi, but when you start talking about USAA that have come, when you're talking about Academy Sports, when you start talking about Nike, these are major corporate 500 brands that have put their name on the Southwestern Athletic Conference, which means that we're doing things right. They're not embarrassed. They're not afraid to put their name on Southwestern Athletic Conference. And it is significant, not only for the growth, but it is significant for the credibility. And when you have a president of PepsiCo come to the SWAC and the SWAC Media Day in the campuses, it shows, again, our strength. And it shows the importance of what SWAC is and its footprint in its overall landscape. I'm tickled pink, Tolly. That's significant for us.
Absolutely. As you do more, as you grow, people are going to be watching and they're going to be wondering and saying, why'd you do that? Or didn't you do that? You
got a lot of that already, Tolly.
Yes, that with anything in life.
Right.
What are some things you think people should watch? What are some key points that you're like, look, just watch this, and we might do this? Like, what are key areas that really are growth points and areas of importance for you?
Well, the first thing that I would say to a lot of our SWAC Nation and constituents is don't necessarily believe everything that you hear.
Number one.
Right, number one, don't believe everything that you hear. I think we've been extremely transparent. And if there's a time or issue we need to address, we will address it. If you don't see me out there publicly, I'm not going to be out there publicly talking to everybody that has something to say positively or negatively. We have to remain focused in the job that we're doing. But for SWAC Nation, if you have questions, tune in. We're going to speak to you directly. But look at the job that we're doing and, quite frankly, do what you've always done. Hold us accountable for growth. Hold us accountable for the things that you want us to do. We listen. We talked about the new initiatives that we're trying to do with the cheerleaders and the band. They don't fall under the SWAC umbrella, but we understood the importance, and we all also understood our ability to help them grow. And we are committed to doing that. Most of the bands and cheerleaders don't even report to the athletic entity. They report to the academic entity. But because it's important and it's important to our fans, we're going to do things to help that grow. And we listen to the fans. So our growth has a lot to do with what our fans say and the growth in the direction that they want us to go in. So continue to look at us. We're going to grow. We're going to elevate. We're going to rise. But we want our fans to be an integral part. And there is nothing as important as our student athletes and our fans. And we're going to continue to bring you in on the overall trajectory of where we're going.
And I will say this, and we can end here. If you ever have any doubts, this is a very honest and a transparent man. It makes hard decisions that aren't always popular. Our first encounter, you made a decision that I didn't like. I really didn't like, and I was mad. But you came back and you said, this is why I did it. Let's work on some other stuff down the road, and I could appreciate that.
Well, I do want to say this,
yeah.
And there's been some information that has been out there about it. Our schools are 100% on the same page. My role and job as conference commissioner is to carry out what our schools say carry out. There's nothing that I do in a vacuum. There's nothing that I do without the 100% vote of the Council of Presidents, whether it's media deals, whether it's corporate sponsorship deals. I'm not out here operating willy-nilly. Our presidents tell me what to do, and my job is to enforce the SWAC Constitution and bylaws and to grow and enhance. So everything that we do collectively. And there has not been one point in our historical journey that our schools have been on the same page, as strong as they are on the same page now. And I will continue to work for these schools. That's my job. And like you say, some of the decisions might not be popular with some schools, might be popular with others, but I think that we all can agree that our conference is growing and it's growing exponentially. As long as we stay focused and on the same page, we're going to be able to achieve all of those goals that we set out to achieve.
And I'll put a bow on it by saying, as people often say in our community, he's a good dude. Might not agree with everything, but that's a good dude right there. He is the commissioner of the Southwestern Athletic Conference, Dr. Charles McClelland. It's been a long day, Doc. Thank you for hanging out with us.
Thanks for being here.